Hello, you're watching Proactive. I'm joined by Dr. Daniel Witt. He's the CEO of Immunic. Daniel, very good to speak with you again.
Yeah, good morning.
So, Daniel, autoimmune diseases such as multiple sclerosis or celiac disease are on the rise every year. Why is this happening and what can we do about it?
Yeah, it's an interesting fact, and we see that for years now. And I think there are a couple of main reasons for that. One being environmental factors, including nutrition and so forth. So the exposure to antigens in our environment, maybe also behavioral things like what age are kids first exposed to antigens and so forth. So that may have a strong impact on the incidence here. But also diagnostic. So I think the healthcare system is really improving around the world step by step. And also it's now a better diagnostic toolkit we can see things. For example, for celiac disease, it was always known that there's a problem, but for a lot of patients it was not clear that they have this very severe autoimmune diseases called celiac disease. So therefore, these are factors which are important and give rise to more and more cases around the world.
You're developing your lead asset for the treatment of MS, Daniel. Even though MS drugs are available, there's still a significant need for better treatments. Can you explain how vidofludimus calcium can help?
Yeah, I think there is a little bit of an important fact which is not obvious on the first view, which is that more or less all current drugs are focusing on preventing relapses or stopping relapse development. And and this is something where we think we need to address more broader the key unmet medical need, which is really disability worsening. And disability worsening is partially originating from relapses, but half of the disability, as we know from scientific work, really originates from something else we call PIRA or smoldering disease. And therefore, we urgently need treatments who are addressing really this relapse-independent worsening of disability. And we need to talk more loudly about it because there's really a high unmet medical need.
So talking about science, when and how did you first come across vidofludimus calcium, and what makes this oral small molecule so unique?
Yeah, I think these are two questions, basically. Of course, I first started working with this molecule when my colleague Hans synthesized the molecule in 2002 in his lab. And it was an interesting track through development for the molecule. But I think today, and this is if you ask me what is really the unique thing about the molecule, to my knowledge, it's really the only triple active molecule which developed in multiple sclerosis with this selective anti-inflammatory activity, antiviral activity, which is also relevant in the MS context, but more importantly, being the first Nurr1 activator. So this triple activity also enabling the drug to be neuroprotective, to in particular target or address the smoldering relapse-independent disability worsening, makes it a really unique asset.
How's your recruitment going, Daniel, for your ongoing phase 3 trials in relapsing MS? Is everything on schedule?
Yeah, it's on schedule, and I'm very thankful that my clinical team here is really doing a wonderful job in a challenging environment in this world with geopolitical stress everywhere to really make sure we are on track for this study. So we clearly are on track on achieving the goals we have published so far on the readouts. And also something is interesting to, if you ask me about recruitment, we have, for example, sites which are active in our PMS caliper study, and we're not part of Ensure, but which is the RMS study. And what we see is that doctors are more or less recognizing that patients feel well on the treatment and are also considering patients or are being more active part in the Ensure studies as well. So there's a little bit of a spillover also from positive experience from patients.
So April 2025, the next big milestone with your phase 2 results in progressive MS expected. Why is this particular study and its results so important to you, and what can we look out for?
Yeah, it is. It could be a game changer. That's the easy answer. If we confirm the neuroprotective potential we have seen so far in our phase 2 RMS study, we have seen in the lab, we have seen the target modulation of Nurr1 activation. I think this could really be the first drug being able to treat non-relapsing secondary progressive MS patients, for example, where there is no treatment available for those patients. So this is really could be a very big value step up for the company. It could be transformative.
So you have three MS trials going on right now. You've got the twin phase 3 trials in RMS and the phase 2 trial in PMS. Which study are you putting the most effort and resources into right now, Daniel? In your opinion, which of the MS types has the most urgent need?
Yeah, I think this is a simple question, but a complex answer. I think relapsing and progressive MS more or less have the same problem. We want to stop the relapse-independent worsening of disability in these patients. And therefore, I would say it's the same need. Even if there are more drugs for relapsing MS available right now, they are all, as I said, all focusing on the relapse prevention or treatment. So I think that the need is almost the same. But what is maybe strategically important is we have, on the one hand, a rock-solid advanced phase 3 study ongoing, the ENSURE studies, both in a global setting, which would enable us to file for approval with the readout we expect now in 2026. So this is a very important, comparably low-risk activity of the company, and gives us, I think, very promising reward on getting the drug approved with a multi-billion market opportunity in relapsing MS. So that's one thing. Of course, the hot area right now is if we're really successful in bringing vidofludimus to a positive phase 2 in progressive MS, that would be a game changer for those patients. So I would say they are both interesting, but very different risk-benefit profiles if you compare PMS and RMS.
I hope you'll keep us updated on developments on all three of those trials, Daniel, but thank you very much for speaking with us today.
Yeah, thank you.
That's Dr. Daniel Witz, the CEO of Immunic.